Welcome to another Top 10 Countdown. This time, we're going to be taking a look at my favourite arcade games from Konami. So let's begin this exciting countdown with number 10. Let's begin at number 10 with one of the most fondly remembered arcade games ever. 1983's Track and Field. Each competitor takes part in several track and field events, including the 100-meter sprint, 100-meter hurdles, javelin and long jump. Now you better have those button mashing skills at the ready, as this was one of those games that required stamina and timing as you attempt to beat each world record. It was one of the greatest arcade experiences of the 1980s, and is just as much fun to play now as it was back then. At number 9 I've gone with Mystic Warriors, a side-scrolling action game from 1993. The Evil Skull Enterprise are plotting to take over the world, and it's up to our group of ninjas to save the day. Characters attack using shurikens or daggers, which can be upgraded to increase firepower. Each stage has plenty of variety and some memorable boss encounters. It's an incredibly fun game, and although it probably isn't as fondly remembered as a lot of other games on this list, it definitely deserves its place at number 9.
Let him go! Come on!
At number 8 I've chosen Gradius II, which arrived in arcades in 1988. Now Gradius is one of the most iconic shoot-'em-up series in video game history, with many sequels and spin-offs both in arcades and on home consoles. The second entry in the series just seemed to nail everything that made Gradius so great. Konami's Twin 16 board enabled many improvements over the first game, and Gradius 2 is also a little more forgiving than the nightmare that is Gradius 3. The amazing graphics and awesome boss fights are just a part of what makes Gradius 2 such a great arcade game. I've gone with a side-scrolling beat-em-up at number 7, 1993's Metamorphic Force. There are 4 characters to choose from, each with the ability to morph into a powered-up beast. These are Ban the Minotaur, Claude the Werewolf, Max the Werepanther, and Ivan the Werebear. Graphically, everything is bold and colourful, the character designs are superb, and there are plenty of interesting enemies and boss characters. Metamorphic Force is a superb entry in the genre, but the lack of a big-name license meant that it would never gain as much commercial success as other Konami beat-em-ups. At number 6 I've chosen Fantastic Journey, which is my favourite entry in the Parodius series. Known as Gakujo Parodius in Japan, this game arrived in arcades in 1994, and for those unfamiliar with the series, Parodius is a parody of classic Konami shoot-'em-ups such as Gradius and Twinbee. There is 2-player action, 8 characters to choose from, and in typical Parodius fashion, the game is filled with crazy enemies and even crazier worlds to battle through. As far as shoot-'em-ups go, this is one of my favourites, and if you're not familiar with the series, this is the perfect place to start. It's no surprise that there are a lot of side-scrolling beat-em-ups on this list, and at number 5, it's The Simpsons. The game arrived in arcades in 1991, at a time when The Simpsons' popularity was growing, meaning it was the perfect opportunity for Konami to step in and draw crowds with yet another side-scrolling beat-em-up. Homer, Marge, Bart and Lisa are all playable characters, as they take on the inhabitants of Springfield on a quest to rescue Maggie and take out Mr. Burns. It's another one of Konami's iconic 4-player cabinets, and is one that will always be fondly remembered. At number 4, I've gone with X-Men, the 1992 beat-em-up based on the Marvel comic book series. There are 6 playable characters, including Cyclops, Storm and Wolverine, and it's your job to put a stop to Magneto and his army of supervillains. It's a fairly standard beat-em-up that relies heavily on the source material as its selling point. One standout feature was the 6-player dual-screen arcade cabinets. If you've ever played one of these, you know just how much fun it is to team up with 5 other players and go into battle. It's one of the best comic book licensed games ever made, and one of Konami's most memorable arcade games. At number 3, I've gone with 1991's Vendetta. This was the successor to one of Konami's earlier beat-em-ups, Crime Fighters, which hit arcades in 1989. You choose from one of 4 selectable characters and set out on a quest to save one of your team's proteges and take down the Dead End Gang. The game has a lot of character, with some great graphics, gritty locations, and a nice selection of weapons to help you on your way. There was a 4-player cabinet very close to where I lived growing up, so I spent a lot of time playing this when it came out. It's a fantastic example of the genre, and one I always love going back to. It's Wild West side-scrolling action at number 2 with Sunset Riders. Up to 4 players can jump into the action as they set out to take down a list of wanted criminals. The graphics are fantastic, with some great Wild West themed locations and entertaining boss fights. Some stages even have you chasing down enemies on horseback, which breaks up the standard gameplay. I have some great memories of playing Sunset Riders in the arcade, and it's definitely one of Konami's finest.
Marry me with my money.
My favourite Konami arcade game has to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This game first appeared in arcades in 1989, and I remember seeing queues of people lining up to play the huge 4-player cabinet, selecting their favourite turtle and jumping into the action. As with many of the big franchises Konami made games for at the time, it was a scrolling beat-em-up, and this was one of their first and definitely one of their finest. Each turtle's moveset differs slightly, such as Donatello's longer attack range thanks to his staff weapon, and Raphael's faster attacks but shorter range. The turtles encounter all manner of iconic enemies along the way, including armies of foot soldiers, Rocksteady and Bebop, and of course, Shredder. The graphics took on the look of the 1980s cartoon series, with awesome character animations and memorable locations, such as the streets, the sewers, and the Technodrome. It's one of the greatest side-scrolling beat-em-ups ever made, and my number one arcade game from Konami. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below and subscribe to the channel for future content.